Maniacal laugh. In a world where tomorrow's blockbusters reign
and yesterday's classics are forgotten, 3 women intend to remember.
Hey everyone, welcome to Millennials at the Movie House, the podcast where 3 friends watch older movies and review them from our modern, everyday perspectives. I'm Betsy.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Serena.
And today we watched Lured.
Lured.
Are you sure it is not lured?
It's lured. Yeah, what you're saying.
Lured.
Lured.
Like you were lured into. You were lured. I think lured.
It's just a bad
I think it's
word.
pronounced both ways. I think it's pronounced tomato.
I think it's lured.
Lured.
And I think of a fishing lure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
all right. That's the better. Yeah. Lure. Okay. Anyway, not the point. We watched that movie. 1947. Directed by Douglas Sirk, written by Leo Rostin, from a story by Jacques Companys, Ernst Neubach, and Simon Gantedlon.
Okay.
Starring George Sanders, Lucille Ball, Charles Coburn, and Boris Karloff. Tracy, quick synopsis, go. Oh, she seems more prepared with that.
Like I think she is. I'm getting a vibe.
Actually, this is going to be interesting, but just going back to lured.
Lured.
I
say lured.
Lured.
Say it again, Serena.
Lured.
I think Serena's correct, but I also pronounced it lured. My one trivia fact that is like, I think it was one of the top ones on IMDb, was that halfway through its US like premiere or whatever, like not premiere, run at the movie theaters.
Yeah.
They decided to change the name of the movie because people thought lured sounded too much like lurid. That's
initially what I thought it was.
Yeah. And they were like, that's not this movie. So they changed it to something like personal ads classify something. They changed it to something else. And I didn't know this because they changed it back to the original title because it was a French film before it was ours. So we redid a French film.
Okay. Anyway. All right. Okay.
And it bombed at the box office for several reasons, and one of them, the director or whomever, the producer, blamed it on them changing the title halfway through the run, and people were like, "Well, wait, what movie am I going to see?"
Yeah.
That's like you're not supposed to do that.
Well, I mean, if the response was so severe, they may have, it was like a Hail Mary, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway. I'll get into other reasons. Anyway, okay. Lured. Now I can't say it right.
Yeah,
Lured
I can't.
is about Lucille Ball is a taxi dancer. Her and her friend are dancing. And her friend is telling her that she's met like the love of her life and she's leaving and going to get married. Come to find out, the police are investigating a serial killer who is killing people by luring them from the personal ads. So they're investigating the serial killers. So Lucille Ball, her name is Sandra. Her friend ends up being the next victim. So she goes into the police station to kind of like give her statement that I think she knew that her friend was answering the personal ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how they met. And the police then ask her to go undercover for them to try to lure the serial killer out so they can catch him.
Anyway, good job, Tracy. Good synopsis. I should say before we get started, this is the very first time that we did not necessarily watch the movie together. Yeah. Serena, you watched it separately. Tracy and I actually ended up watching it together. So I think this is actually going to be interesting. We didn't necessarily feed off of each other, you know, so we might actually have differing opinions. This might be interesting. All right. So how did we like it?
I love the movie. I did. I didn't actually I didn't have a chance to check the entire career of Lucille Ball. I wrote down like 7 or 8 things that I wanted to check out, like even just trailers of hers. I didn't realize that Lucy is Lucille, and she is an icon with lots of different things going on. But this seemed like it was like an early, because this is 47, and a lot of her shows and whatever are 51 through 75.
Yeah, this was early days, and I hadn't always known, but I knew that she was a silver screen actress, like a drama actress, before I Love Lucy. But I think that nowadays she's just known for I Love Lucy. So I kind of wanted to jump out of that zone and see. But that said, she was still Lucy in this.
Yeah.
Like there were just so many elements of her that now makes me think that that's just Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
And, that got infused into I Love Lucy.
And she's still funny.
Yep. Yeah, it's still comedy, but just without her like facial expression and the the canned laughter. No, I enjoyed it too.
I did too.
So,
this was very much a me movie. It was that like a film noir, but it was I want to call it a light noir, where it wasn't quite as dark or whatever as it could have been, and it kind of had comedy to it, but I want to call it a natural comedy where like things are funny, life is funny.
Yep. Well, and it's funny because when we first started, I was like, oh my God, this is classic noir. But you're right. It actually really wasn't, because like you were saying, there was lightness to it. And usually in a noir, the main character, there's darkness in the main character. And first off, there wasn't that PI detective, broody, whatever guy. It was her. She was the main character. She was the detective, and she was good. So she wasn't even a femme fatale. That she wasn't even fitting into that trope. So there were definitely differences from a classic noir.
So the film noir, it goes back into this little thing I read. Why it didn't do well is because it wasn't just one genre. It wasn't a noir in the traditional sense. So people who like that went into it expecting that, and it wasn't that. So it because it wasn't well defined, I think it had a hard place finding an audience.
That's fair.
So, which is why it didn't do well. But in my opinion, I think that's what makes it so good, because it is different. It didn't follow the exact, plot points or whatever that a normal one does.
And we're acclimated to having genre hybrids now.
Yes. Yeah. So kudos. Good. I liked it.
It fits a little bit more today than it would have back then.
Yeah, exactly. Like rom-com.
Yeah. It did have that feeling, like the way they talked and the way and it was the 40s. I feel like that was still old. You know what I mean? And it did feel very modern.
Yeah.
It did feel modern, and I think it was Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think she's the reason, not necessarily because I've never seen any of her other shows or anything like that, but she has a very unique on-screen persona that kind of makes light of things, but doesn't. I don't know. I can't describe it. Like her character was like brilliant and funny, and
we are back to the strong female, guys.
Yes, we are.
I think that's
Serena,
probably why I liked it.
Serena, no, I think you're hitting the nail right on the head, because me coming from the I Love Lucy persona, this was Lucille Ball. That is her personality. And whereas the I Love Lucy is that cranked to 11. It's almost like to a Three Stooges type added on to her personality. But the first note I made here is she's still funny. In this very serious noir, she's still funny.
First thing out of her mouth was a joke, and we were like, oh, okay, hi.
Yeah.
Okay. Top of the marquee, guys. Are we ready? Let's jump into the question.
And we didn't think we would have anything to say.
Right? No, we just said everything. That's it. We're done.
Yeah, that was it. Done.
That's a wrap, everybody. See you next week.
All right. Top of the marquee. What was everyone's favorite part? I will say, you know how you guys do like your second favorite and your third favorite, and I don't usually. I have three. I have two runners up. I rarely do that, but they kept coming to me, and I'm like, oh, that was a good part. Oh, that was a good part. Oh, that was a good part.
I loved it all. It was hard to pick.
Yeah. So when Sandra goes in to see Inspector Temple, he has her test to see, like he gives her a test to see if she's going to be a good detective.
Love that scene.
Whole scene was awesome because I think that was the moment where I was finally like 100% sold on the movie. Like before then I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then I was like, oh my God, they're making her a detective. This is going to be.
Dude, 100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly the same with me.
And there was a point where they were halfway through the test. She was like, like answering his questions, all whatever. And I glanced at the screen where Tracy was, and she and I were both like grinning ear to ear at this scene. And I was like, okay, this is a good scene. We're both enjoying this scene a lot. So that I think is my favorite scene. Runners up, I actually really enjoyed Boris Karloff. So he wasn't a main character, but he was billed as being in this movie, and we think that a lot of it had to do with he was just a name at the time, and he was aging at that point. He was like kind of in his older years. But
well, let's pause right there. Boris Karloff is a horror icon. He's up there with Bela Lugosi. He's in all those
Anyway, so I really liked his little role, and because I for such a small role, he like sold it. He sold that. Yeah. And it was creepy, and it was suddenly we were in this horror movie for a scene, and it weirdly worked. Then my other runner-up is the relationship between Barrett and Sandra, and
Barrett is the minder,
and it wasn't. It's not even like he was awesome. By the end of it, you're like, yes, Barrett, love you. But it was really just when they first met, they stole each other's guns. And it was like, yes, like when he stole her gun, like, okay, fine, whatever. And then she handed his gun back, and you were like, yes, Sandra, yes, love it.
I loved that scene too. I think that's just adds to the why I like her so much, especially in this movie.
She was badass in this.
She was, I didn't quite realize it until like this moment, because she was that damsel in distress. She was kind of screaming and didn't know how to handle herself. And he had pushed her into a cab, and then he handed the gun back. And it was kind of like, it was almost a slap in the face. Like, you don't know how to handle yourself, until she goes, and here's yours. Yeah. And it was like, you do. She stole his back. Like,
And it was, I don't know, just because I liked that the camaraderie that they had, you had to have that moment of she's on his level. She can handle himself. He can trust that she can do her job. So it was perfect. Perfect. Anyway, those were my moments.
Good job. Serena?
Yeah. For me, like the whole, no offense, but like the other people in the film like didn't even hold a candle to Lucille Ball. I feel like my favorite part is literally every single time she's on camera. Totally it's like fair. Lucille Ball.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's literally where I'm at. Like, and I have nothing else. I mean, all those scenes you listed, Beth, like I was wicked involved. I was paying close attention. I had like the volume up pretty high, but that it was kind of like a turn. You know how we have like that turning point in a movie where we're like really paying attention now?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like that scene with her doing the test detective scene, like that was it for me.
Yeah.
So I also wrote, my top favorite thing is just Lucy herself. Just everything she did was awesome. And so I knew going in that this wasn't going to be I Love Lucy, which is that like shtick type, Lucy. And I'm like, okay, this is her being a dramatic actor. Let's look at it through a different lens. And like you said, Beth, she kind of cracked a joke, but I'm like, okay, it wasn't over the top, and there wasn't a laugh track. You know what I mean?
It was still in character.
It was still in character. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, all right. But I said she was a dancer, and somebody came to dance with her, and she wanted to talk to her friend. So she kind of like danced close to her friend, and her and her friend continued to have a conversation. And her dance partner is like, what am I paying you for? You're supposed to pay attention to me. And in true Lucille Ball fashion, she goes, shut up. And the way I didn't do it justice, but the way her voice it was just so like
Well, and then
So
she
Lucille Ball.
also put her elbow on his shoulder and kind of was like, whatever. Like, kind of just,
Yeah.
it was.
And I was just like, okay, Lucy is here. She's still, but I think throughout the whole thing proved herself as also a very good actress, not just a comedian.
Yes, absolutely.
And I Love Lucy. I Love Lucy starts in 51, so like this is 47, so it's like pre-Lucy.
Okay, so that was, I also put Lucy herself, but there were two other parts that I really liked. The police chief had called in Julian, who is the assistant to who they thought was the bad guy.
Yes.
And the chief is kind of presenting him with the evidence of things. And we don't really know this at the time, but the assistant is kind of explaining away all the coincidences. And the chief goes, can you explain to me how, this isn't verbatim, but can you explain to me how your fingerprints are on this thing? And he goes, well, I don't know. And he picks up like a piece of paper.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Goes,
yep.
Here, can you hold this for me? And the chief takes it, and the bad guy the assistant goes, see, there, you've got your fingerprints on it, and you have no idea what I just handed you, kind of thing.
Right, now your fingerprints are on it.
Right, and he goes, but so are mine. You know, because I handed it. It was just kind of like a easy explanation of fingerprints. It was, I don't know, I like that part.
Yeah.
But,
you would.
Fingerprints.
I know, and I think we had touched on this, Beth, so apologies if I stole this. But I liked how it had, I know, a smart bad guy. Yeah. I'm even more impressed that it had a smart police force.
Yes.
Whenever I see stuff like this, I'm like, people were so smart back then to figure things out.
Yeah.
And they were like determined. If we had to do this much we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You'd be so lazy, we'd be like, we have no idea who did it.
Yep.
Usually the police they're like mistakenly smart. They like stumble onto something, or the main character who's not part of the police, which would be the Lucille Ball character, is the one that solves the whole thing, which she does help, but the police are on top of their they are. They I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree. I feel like that's so rare in movies.
It is. They were smart. They knew what they were doing. They had a plan. They had a backup plan. They had, so.
Well, I was like, we're so used to just all of us being like, oh my God, smarten up. Like everyone's like so dumb.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like frustrating. So it took that frustration like right out of the vibe.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't have to worry about the characters doing their job. We were able to focus on the whodunit. Like, yes. I feel like so much
right.
of it was like, okay, who did it? Like we were actually engaged in that level.
Yeah.
Because we trusted the cops had the right information.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good answers, everyone, all around. All right. The wheel of questions, guys. We landed on 6 degrees. So we need to get from Goldie Hawn to Lucille Ball. And I'm very proud of myself because I went meta, and I'll explain.
Oh, okay.
You'll see how I went meta.
I'm not, I mean, I did it, but it wasn't as fun as I wanted it to be.
Okay.
Yep.
So Goldie Hawn, Goldie Hawn to Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
Goldie Hawn and Stockard Channing were in the First Wives Club together.
Okay.
Stockard Channing and Bruce Davison were in 6 degrees of separation together.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Is that what meta is?
That's what meta is. And then Bruce
God.
Davison and Lucille Ball were in Maine together.
Wow.
Nicely done.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. I have Goldie Hawn was a regular cast member of The Laugh-In.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The Laugh-In had a guest star, Desi Arnaz, who was married to Lucille Ball.
Well done. Well done.
Okay. I have 1 degree of separation.
Ooh. Okay. Go.
Goldie Hawn is the headliner on The Dean Martin Show with Dean Martin, who stars in Lucy Gets Lucky with Lucille Ball.
Wow.
Nicely.
Did it in 5 minutes.
Serena.
I couldn't even believe it. I was like, is this real? I fact-checked it 100 times.
Forever.
Good job, Serena. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Wait a minute. How has this movie influenced or been influenced by other movies? So I feel like it's not the movie itself, it's the genre that has influence. Obviously, it's noir, there's like a million of these.
I think it goes back to what I was saying, where it wasn't quite noir. It was kind of a,
Mm-hmm. I feel like, I don't know if it's just because I was watching Criminal Minds recently, but I feel like there were elements of Criminal Minds, and you called out the Alienist at one point too, obviously, because we were just talking about the Alienist, but I think it came down to the fact that the inspector was talking about getting into the mind of the villain, and he really did try to do that, like from a psychological perspective.
Yep.
And you don't see that a ton in noir. That was actually, its own thing, its own crime thing.
Yeah.
Happening.
I have a quote for that too. You want me to read that?
Go for it.
All right.
I love it.
So this is when he was, again, talking to the assistant, Julian, and how all of the little pieces of evidence that were planted on Fleming were adding up. And he goes, and yet you said the facts were indisputable. Too much so. Too many of them. And too perfect. Facts must have psychological cement, Mr. Wilde. In Fleming's case, they haven't, so they fall apart.
Right, the psychological cement. I forgot about that line. Yeah. The psychology. The psychology of the killer, that's very in right now. That's the thing that's all the rage. So I feel like it was kind of unique a little bit in the 40s. I don't know. I mean, not like it had never been done before, but you don't see that too much.
No, I was very impressed with all of their forensic stuff. Like they were talking about the psychology. They had the typewriter. They knew like which typewriter it was from the way it was printing things out. From the paper, I think it had a watermark on it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was very, and again, I asked what time period this is again, because I was like, I don't know. I was
surprised.
Impressed.
You were pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, wow, they have their A game going.
Anyway,
yeah,
kudos.
Yep.
That's a lot.
So the other things I wrote down for this question. First off, I immediately, when the movie started, I was like, oh, it's the noir version of Shop Around the Corner. It's like,
oh my God, shut up! That's what I wrote, and you took mine. No!
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I immediately, when they said personal ads, I was like, you've got mail.
Yeah, right. It's what could happen.
I think there's always been online dating, or you know what I mean? Like there's always been personal ads and that kind of thing, which I kind of think is, I don't know, funny and cute and kind of creepy. I couldn't think of anything. It was Lucy in a noir.
Yeah.
It's a standalone, maybe not one of its kind, but definitely based on what I know. I don't know a lot of the older like noir style films. This was not what I was expecting, and I was like pleasantly surprised.
Good.
Like I could tell by the opening music, I was like, oh no, is this going to be like a dark film? I can't do dark right now. And then I was like, oh, I like her. Oh, she's good. I like her a lot.
I actually, honestly, I didn't realize that was the character. I really thought that she was just going to be used as bait, and she wasn't. They were like, yeah, no, we're just going to make you a detective. Like, take out the middleman there.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
so. I love that.
Going back to just making her detective. I mean, it took all of 5 minutes for her test because she had, and they demonstrated that she was very observant. Then the next scene, they're like going over the case with her, and then he hands her a gun.
Yeah.
Like, there's no,
I love that.
Swearing her in or training or whatever. And he hands her a gun and says, this is in case you need more support. And she goes, I hope I don't shoot myself. And he goes, you won't. You're on the force now.
Yeah.
I won't teach you how to shoot it or what to do, but you're automatically, as of 5 minutes ago, on the force, so you know how to use a gun now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's part of what added to the charm of this movie is little things like that just like added to the charm.
Yeah. You got little bits of humor every now and then. And every character was fully developed and oh god. Yeah.
Yep.
And like, was it a third police officer or was it the minder who liked crossword puzzles?
It was the minder. It was Barrett.
Yeah, that was just so like he had his own little quirks and personality.
Right. So ladies, please remove your hats and silence your cell phones. How does this film hold up? I have one issue, but
I have one issue too, but I think it does hold up.
It
very
does.
well,
I agree.
in fact.
I agree.
This is my usual, one of my usual complaints is that I didn't buy the romance.
Oh,
Yeah.
They very
that's not what I was
quickly
going to
fell in
say. But
love
okay.
to a point where when he first talked to, so Fleming first talked to Sandra on the phone because she was calling for a job interview. He was literally, I don't know if they were making out, but he was holding another woman to a point where the woman answered the phone and was like, I'll put you on with his secretary or whatever in a second. She put the phone behind her back so they could have like a moment again. He took the phone, and while he's still holding this woman, basically is like, yes, I want to meet you. And this other woman is like, are you kidding me? We're together right now. And he broke up with her while she's talking to Sandra on the phone. Like,
She walked out. I thought that too, and then I kind of thought about it after, and I'm like, I feel as though they were kind of trying to show that he was Mr. Playboy, could get any woman, et cetera, and then of course like falls for the unattainable, not so easy.
you are right, because I have a quote for that.
Oh,
I have
she
a quote
and
for
her
that.
quotes today.
I have a quote for that. And you're right. I think it is because, and she wasn't doing it on purpose, but she was basically the hard to get. You're right. She hangs up on him because she finds out that her friend has been murdered and she just can't deal with anything. So she just hangs up the phone. And he goes, that's the first girl to hang up on me in years. And his assistant goes, it's long overdue. So
Nice.
like, you're right. He is the Playboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it did avoid a lot of the things that we usually have issues with older movies, which is it did have a twist. It had 2 twists. We were able to like Bets, you had said earlier, we were actually focused on the whodunit, and we were guessing, and they were, and instead of the obvious answer, which is I feel like most older movies just go with the obvious answer, there were things to go, oh no, we were wrong. Okay, how is this really going to end? Which I like. That's the whole part of a mystery, is trying to figure out which path is the right one.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it did that, and the pacing was well. I
Very
didn't have
well
any
done.
issues with that. So
Yep.
I'll forgive all the things because I think it surpassed many of the pitfalls that we usually have.
My only issue, and it's going to go towards boom, we fixed it, because this is the fix that I would need to have for this to be made modern, is that the second the romance occurred from her end, she became the whimpering damsel. Like, she
That
was
was the same with me.
completely taken out of the crime-solving aspect of it. And suddenly we were 100% focused on everyone else, and then the inspector swooped in and brought all the pieces together. So it was like almost there, and it was as if somebody saw it and was like, oh no, she's too strong, we got to pull it back, like in the middle of the story. And I feel like that's
like
what happened
alien
here.
came and sucked out their brains.
I'm just going to give an excuse for it, or playing the devil's advocate here, is that it wasn't like her lifelong dream was to be a detective. She was kind of pulled into that. And she was defending him, even though she had all the evidence against him that she did find and was suspicious of. But she's like, no, I know him. I'm in love. I'm in love with him. He couldn't do this. And there was a scene with the chief where one of the cops was like, we're not done. We haven't found the right guy yet. Why did you let her go? And he was kind of like, we pulled her in. She deserves to have, a good life or whatever. So I'm not going to keep her there.
Yeah. Yeah, so. You're right. It wasn't contrived the way that she exited the process. It was just, I feel like I wanted her to be the one to solve the issue. And it says nothing to do with anything, but they defied Chekhov's gun literally, and it really annoyed me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So Chekhov's gun is the rule that if you present a gun in the first act, it has to be fired by the third. And she never shot her gun. So it was annoying to me that they handed her a gun in the first place. She never did anything with it. I mean, it was used as kind of a joke, a couple of times, but there was never a moment where even if it was a moment where she was like, well, never had to fire my gun or something like that. Like, they just, it was just
and you know what, now that you say that, and one of the parts that annoyed me was at the very end when somebody, was it Flemmy was punching out somebody, right? And you're right, she turned it to very much a damsel where they were mid-fight and she still flung herself onto Flemmy being like, oh, and he kind of had to like push her aside to be like, I'm not done fighting yet. Like, I'm doing it right
until he's
here.
unconscious. And
right,
then
like wait until he's done. Where that would have been the part for her to pull out her gun.
Right. Though I do remember thinking it was very smart of her to not give herself away, because even when Barrett came running in, she was like, don't say anything.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So I kind of took that as she was staying undercover in that moment.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah, that's right. I forgot the second twist. There was the crazy Boris Karloff and then the mob people with whatever they were doing.
There were two fake outs. There were two fake outs. Or you're right. 3 fake outs. Wait. If you count Boris Karloff, there were 3 fake outs before we got to the actual guy.
Right. So it was him. Oh, and then Flemmy was himself a fake out. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Fleming.
Which was great. And they were all like well done and all kind of connected, so you could understand why they thought certain things. Yeah.
Where are we? All right.
I don't know.
I think we did. Well, we automatically went into boom. We fixed it. So any other booms?
Serena, did you have anything else to say? I feel like I cut you off.
Things that we've already discussed. The genre combo, I think, definitely holds up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The psychological thriller style.
Yeah.
No, we already talked about this, but something that would be a popular, like if someone was to redo this, not in black and white, maybe recast it with some whatever people like today, I think that this show or movie would be like the remake would still hold up.
Mm-hmm.
The Catfish Killer.
Yeah, the Catfish Killer, something like that, or the Tinder Killer.
I mean, Craigslist Killer. I mean, it's been done in real life.
Yeah, I guess I'm just in agreement with Betsy about the romance changed her character to that damsel in distress. She seemed a little more like, I don't want to say overly emotional because it sounds like I'm just like woman shaming, and I'm not trying to do that, but she was like distraught when he was in jail, like distraught.
I think she was just so upset that he wouldn't hear her out.
Right.
Because in her defense, she was on his side the whole time.
She never believed it was him, to the point where she was ready to hide Lucy's photo. Even though Lucy was her friend, she was prepared to hide that because she didn't want him implicated.
Yeah. That whole scene was, I don't want to say confusing, but it kind of like threw me for a loop. I wasn't really expecting it to go the direction it went. I didn't know what I was thinking, where it would go with that. But that's where I was kind of like, ooh, do I like this? I can't tell. I don't know if I like this or not. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think in general, like if I had to give you like a yes or a no, I think yes, it did hold up.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely.
Yep.
Like character development was huge. We've had so many films that we watched that like it's just like a character development flop. Yeah. And that to me is something that keeps me kind of looped into the movie. So
yeah. I absolutely
naturally. Yeah.
Naturally.
I don't really have a boom, we fixed it. I kind of agree with your Lucille solves the crime,
Mm-hmm.
Sandra solves the crime. Sandra solves it.
Actually, I disagree with that though, because that was the whole point of what I liked about like my favorite part is the police were smart enough to figure it out. They used her and then she helped, but I like that they weren't. They're specialists. That's what they do. They know what's going on, and she helped. But
that's a good point.
I totally agree with that. It was just that she completely left the process. There was like a 20-minute period in there where we just didn't see her. She was completely out of the process, and I feel like if she had like brought a piece of evidence to the inspector and the inspector figured it out, okay, great. Or like, she, even if it was like, I don't know. I do get that she like at the end, she was a plant at the end and helped, but. Notes roundup, guys. Oh, I have one comment. There was one shot in there that was insanely gorgeous and I loved it and I want the screenshot of it. When it's the London skyline with her under the street lamp.
Yes.
Oh,
and the moon or something. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Bets, that's in the trailer on IMDb. That scene is in the trailer. Yeah, they closed with that scene. It's very pretty.
Yeah. Anyway, that was that. Oh, I had one other comment, and it was
go ahead.
Her eyebrows. That's all.
Oh yeah.
Were they on
well,
fleek?
explain.
Oh, it's fine. So that I thought that was something that was solely I Love Lucy. I thought it was a character feature for I Love Lucy, but it wasn't. It's Lucille Ball. She just has very high drawn on eyebrows that make her look surprised all the time, and it was something that I didn't realize was just something that was her. That was all.
Yep.
So I noticed it. That was it.
I thought you were gonna say her eyebrows were on fleek.
They
No,
were.
They were. But yeah, there was a reason why I noticed them.
I'm going to pull a
Surprise,
Serena, and I'm going to point out her fashion.
Yes.
Oh my god, I was
She
waiting.
had
Yep.
this coat on that
The white coat. The white coat.
It was. Was it white? I think it had some
It was the checkered.
like fur. Yeah, the checkered or whatever around the hoodie of it.
Yeah.
It was a great coat. It was
Oh
a great
yeah,
coat.
that's
And
that one too.
Her star dress.
No,
Yeah, the
Was
star.
sorry,
you don't
go
like
ahead.
the star dress?
No, but the other dress, the opera dress.
the opera
what was the one where
dress.
she's wearing
Yes.
all white?
Oh, that's the white. The white dress was the opera dress. And I mean, in a bad
Every
fashion,
outfit she wore, all of us like.
the princess dress,
Oh God, it
horrible.
was so bad.
but that
Yeah.
I think it was kind of the point.
Yeah.
But her star dress, I just love the shape of the star dress. And of course that was the hint, because she also had we didn't even mention this. In addition to luring the girls out with a personal ad, the killer would then send a poem to the police taunting them of who he was going to kill. And they always had like little hints. And her hint, because she was next, was that she was wearing the stars or something like that. And she had the star dress on.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I want to go back to the opera dress, because the opera dress, you and I both were like, oh my God, that dress is gorgeous. So I just had to call out that dress too. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the one that she's wearing the white
Yes.
fur over it?
Yes.
That's the one I'm talking. So I have gorgeous white fur coat, but it's not quite a coat. It's kind of like a shoulder. It's like a shawl.
It was a shrug.
Thing. Shawl.
Yeah.
Shrug.
Shawl.
Shrug. Shawl. Shrug.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have a couple of notes. The concept of what a taxi dancer is. I had never heard this term before, and she was paid to dance with people at dances. And from the little I researched, whatever, is guys would buy tickets like you would do at like a carnival or something, and then you would hand in a ticket, and I think the dancers got paid for a percentage of however many tickets they collected or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was completely foreign to me too. I'm like, what is happening? Right
and apparently, if this little article I found is true, it was big for a little while in the United States, and now it's not. But there are places still that do that still.
Interesting.
I actually never had closure to what that was. I thought she was just a dancer, and then I was like, I don't know. I was like a little bit confused that part. I probably would have benefited from doing a little research, but I like just like you just told me what the definition was. Like you were because I didn't know.
I find those little things fascinating in movies where like they don't explain it because they assume you know it because they think it's 1947. Like, you know, popular culture understands that, but we lost that element of that, you know, it's just interesting.
And I have one last quote, and it means nothing, and it's not especially good, but for some reason it just hit me. So this is when they accuse him, because they did find the picture and the bracelet and everything. And she basically helped him find it, but she didn't really want to. So she's like, I know it's not you. It's not. And she's like, she keeps saying, no, I love you. I don't think you did this. And Fleming at this point will not listen to her at all. So he says to her, now look, Angel, the show's over. Stop acting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know why
I remember
I was
that.
just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like all of a sudden it was like a quick turn. This took a turn.
For being a very, like, I felt like that was a very stoic character. Like, it was kind of hard to get a read on him, but you could tell he was, like, heartbroken. Absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
And that's it. Those are all my notes. Anybody have anything else?
Serena, did you have anything else?
Honestly, my notes are so just, I really could use some organization in my life.
All right, guys. Martini Shot. Would you recommend the movie?
Yes.
I would.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I have
3 yeses.
soft yes, but yes.
She. When is it ever a hard yes for
I'm
you?
picky. I'm really picky. I'm so
You
sorry.
are so picky. She's
we've
like,
had
yeah, that's
some.
a yes.
It's a yes.
Yeah.
It's a soft yes.
I think
What
it's
was it?
good. I wasn't disappointed. It's Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's a different side of Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
this was my first Lucille Ball film that I watched, well, her on screen.
I find it interesting that you're being introduced to all these famous people with not their famous roles. So
Yeah.
So Goldie
Like
Hawn,
backwards.
Sugarland Express,
Like Backdoor.
and, like it's just interesting.
Backdoor actress in introduction.
Love it.
The last note I have is just that Lucille Ball brought this film to life, and I think that's I am a hard yes, Betsy.
Okay, good.
All right.
Sorry.
She's a soft yes. I'm like, is there any outbalancing? Are we ever gonna get 3 hard yeses?
We have. Yeah.
Great times.
Thanks for joining us. If you like what you hear, you can find more great episodes over on our website, www.millennialsatthemoviehouse.com, or wherever you find your podcasts. Curious about updates, extras from our episodes, or want to add your 2 cents about a reviewed movie? We're also on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle for both is @themoviemillies. Check us out and make sure to follow us. So until next time,
We're millennials.
And we'll see you at the movie house.